Hello. There we go. Hey, everybody. It's Wednesday again. Time is really fast, but here we are today. And today, let me talk a little bit about jobs. Okay. Oops. All right. So today I wanted to spend a little time talking about job interviews because, as a person who's been in the world of technology for the past decade, I get a lot of questions about, how to, well, succeed in the tech industry, but also at the same time, a lot of people have questions around how do I get a job these days, right? In the first place, when AI is really wreaking havoc on the job market. And as someone who pivoted to using a lot of AI and is having some interesting developments in the, job spaces due to AI, I felt like today I wanted to get into a bit of a deeper dive onto, the technical job market, so to speak. Okay, so what qualifies me to talk about this? Well, I mean, it's not that it distinguished of a resume in my opinion, but I worked at big tech companies like I worked at Apple, I worked at Foursquare, and I worked at Disney. Disney's not a big tech company, but anyway. um, and before that I did my military service in Korea for the largest search engine in Korea, like basically the Google of Korea. And so my post master's degree career has been sort of like on the research side of things, speech recognition and the speech synthesis, and then onto data infrastructure. And throughout my tenure, somewhere around the midpoint of my career, I started interviewing people myself. And but in the Silicon Valley, I've interviewed with so many different companies because I was also part of that red race, so to speak, like that grind, right? So I interviewed for Amazon, I interviewed for Google, I interviewed for Nvidia, I interviewed for various subsidiaries of Amazon and a lot of startups. And throughout that process, I did a lot of coding interviews. And as an interviewer, I led a lot of coding interviews. And I know, so basically, I know how the traditional technical interviews work, right? And now I left the world of technology um, last year in July because I wanted to go to France with my wife, right? So I've been out of the tech world. I've been just doing life coaching like this for the past year or so. But uh, some interesting developments have been happening throughout the past year. So, first of all, there's a job that I randomly applied to in France. It's a technical job, and then much to my surprise, I got an interview, and so I interviewed for French job. Now, along with that, one of my colleagues wanted to reach out and be like, "Hey, we're looking to fill a position, and I heard you were on the market, and are you available?" And I'm not really like in a hard no situation to technology. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you want, I can interview, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So I interviewed there, and then another one of my ex colleagues was like, hey, I'm looking to fill a position, and I would love to have you on my team. And I'm like, all right. So again, I interviewed for that. But there's an interesting trend here that's happening, and I wanted to tell you about that, especially if you're looking for a job. So the trend here is that now technical jobs, it's not a question of like whether you're gonna use AI or not. It's like all the jobs are all the jobs and all the interviews are based on the fact that you are going to be using AI. That is a really very, very big shift in the, hiring, interviewing sector, and I think that's worth really knowing. So if um but let's start from the very, very beginning of the job process, right? You need to have your resume. So many people ask me if I do resume reviews, and of course I'm happy to do a resume review, but at the same time I think, writing a good resume is a nice skill to have, right? But in these times, I think the skill of writing a resume can take a backseat. Now, the thing is, if you did develop it, if you did develop the ability to write a great resume, is it a waste of time? No, it's not a waste of time because it will help you in your career when you need to make a demo to the stakeholders, when you need to talk to your leadership team about the impact that your work had in your annual performance review. You're gonna have to kind of like quantify, you're gonna have to be able to succinctly summarize what you did over the past year, what the project is supposed to do. And that's a great skill to have, right? And to be able to do that on command without, relying on things, it's a great skill to have. But at the same time, it is 2026, AI is here. So I think um, and more importantly, the recruiters are going to use AI to filter your resumes. That's why a lot of resumes get into, like automatic responses, or you get ghosted because it doesn't pass the first layer of automated filters. So it's a great idea to rely on, AI to make the resume, but at the same time, um, using AI is kind of a skill, right? You could just say I worked on this vague things and then make it a bullet point. But well, what you can also do is you can make the AI interview you, like, hey, I want to have a resume and I want to make it like as informative as possible. So, but the thing is, you don't know about my work, you don't know about my project, so I want you to interview me about my project so that I can give you the answers, and then you can quantify it in the form of bullet points for a resume. Good. Now you have a much better resume, right? So prompting in that direction, I think, helps you make a pretty strong resume from the get-go, assuming you have the professional experience to kind of back it up, right? Okay, so that's the first portion. But uh, this is a little bit of an aside, but I think it's easy to be discouraged, and being discouraged is one thing, but it's easy to be like really personally bummed out because your resume didn't pass the, like a screening process. Here's what I have to say about that. So, the jobs that I'm applying to right now, the jobs that I'm interviewing for right now, these are positions that people are trying to fill internally, right? So basically, I talked to the hiring manager already. But with companies, they need to follow a certain process, right? And so, although they know I'm a candidate interested in the job, they still need me to apply for the job so that I can be registered under the system. And so I go to their website, I go to the career website, and then I, like fill out the form, right? And then guess what happens? I get an email saying that my resume, I mean, like my application was declined, and they're gonna look for other people. So this is kind of silly, right? Like I'm already, like 5 interviews deep, and then I applied for a technicality, and then I get an email saying that I was rejected. And then I talk to the hiring manager, and it's like, oh, wait, that's just a system. So when you, so like it's normal for you to be bummed out that, oh man, I didn't make it, in this company. But at the same time, if you're not passing, like if you keep getting these like declining emails from systems, it's highly likely that it's just not passing the filter. That has nothing to do with you. So it's important to kind of like compartmentalize the emotions that you experience as you receive rejections, right? Yes, like it's okay to be bummed out about something that you actually, like interviewed, you went through the process, and then the results were not what you hoped for. That's fine. But I don't want you to feel like, oh man, my resume is like getting rejected everywhere, so my career must suck. That I want you to have a bit of a different perspective about. Okay, so going deep into the, what the jobs are like, what the interview process is about these days. First of all, there are companies that are like, don't use AI for this, and do your best to code. We'll give you a take-home exam, and then so like make sure you do it without like AI supervision. So the nice thing is, if you've already prepped yourself for a coding interview for the past like a few years, you're probably going to do fine with it, right? And but you see, this already assumes that you're going to be using AI, right? So what I'm noticing is happening in a lot of the more recent positions, right? Like the actual new positions. And I think the difficulty in finding jobs that people are experiencing right now is difficulty in finding positions that traditionally used to exist, like just senior backend engineer, or like associate software engineer. These positions are, yes, I do agree, these positions have really, the amount of positions that for those roles have shrunk a lot. But something that's really different is for AI engineers, and for engineers who are going to be like doing pre-sales work, for the engineers who are going to be doing a lot of like development using AI, these roles are actually really expanding. Companies are really keen on hiring people who are good at using AI to develop, right? So like turns out vibe coding kind of has a skill tier to it, right? So the nice thing is, the interview process for these roles are open books. And the interview process for these like actually encourage you to use AI to, write the code. This is kind of mind-blowing to me, because I would have never thought that this kind of a change would happen in the technology sector. But that's where we are, because like I think everybody dislikes coding interviews, because when are you ever going to do anything related to a coding interview question in an actual software engineering job? The questions are really about like trying to drill you into reviewing your college footnotes about like data structures, and do you know this really niche algorithm about something. But I think with AI, the jobs or positions are really more looking for, does this person have the practical skill that we're looking for, which is using AI to develop, right? So in that end, I think the more you focus on practicing using AI today, the more you're going to benefit. And the thing is, before, on GitHub, like, you should have a pet project. That's something that, every engineer used to say, right? But then like, oh, but what pet project can I have? Like when I have no data or things like that. Well, now with AI, it's so easy to create mock data sets. It's so easy to create, just like software that you want to play for fun. For example, I'm interested in music, so I made a sampler because I wanted to learn how to do sampling, right? But I'm not saying like, oh my, so I'm the best because I made all these things. It's less about that. But like, it's so easy to get experience in vibe coding, because, turning your passion or turning your interest into engineering projects, the cost of that is kind of trivial now. So throughout that process, the more important thing is, when you're writing code for companies, you're not necessarily really interested in the work that your company is doing, right? When you worked for Foursquare, like it was location intelligence. Like there are some people who are genuinely interested in location intelligence, but I wasn't. I was more interested in like the big data processing itself, right? And I'm allowed to do that. I worked at Disney, and the thing is, I'm a data guy. I like data, but at the same time, I'm not really into the entertainment industry, so to speak, right? So just like this, before, for you to have a pet project, like the hurdle was really high, and you wanted to have a lot of like you worked on projects that you weren't necessarily interested in. But now with AI, you're able to iterate, you're able to develop projects that you're actually interested in. And when you take a vested interest in something, then you actually learn a lot more about the process. So if you're interested in making a board game, like you can do that. And because this is a board game you're interested in, like playing, you're going to be more involved in the engineering process, which is what actually gives you the reps you need to do all these like, systems engineering questions, and, like how to manage your tokens and stuff, right? So getting more reps with AI is basically going to be a really important factor in doing technical interviews and finding jobs in the future. So that's something I really wanted to kind of like give you a perspective on in terms of the job market and in terms of the interviewing process. But regardless of how good you are technically, I think preparing for an interview and going through the interview process is still a kind of a gruel, right? And here's something I noticed when I stopped caring. So this sounds bad, right? This sounds like I'm apathetic to the process, and this sounds like I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Part of it is true, but the thing is, um, if I don't have a job and I don't have a business and I'm relying on my job for my livelihood, then it kind of makes me desperate, right? And I know what that feels like because I was fired from my job. And if I didn't find a job in the next few months, I needed to be like evicted from the country, right? I needed to get myself out of the country when I just arrived in the United States like a few months ago. So obviously not a great place to be in. So at that place, interview is very stressful. Interview sucks and it's hard, right? But the thing is, right now I'm pretty busy. I have my own business and I'm coaching people. And even if I do get a job offer, good, I'll consider it. But it's not like, oh my god, I finally got the job. Let me sign this and then let me sign this offer in an instant, and then I'm gonna start. It's less about that. And what happens when I just don't care about the outcome of the job? It's this. I go into the interview in a much more relaxed manner, right? Because I don't I like I'm just earnestly talking about what they're asking me. Do I have experience in it? Sure. Do I not have experience in it? Nope. And then I'm able to talk about it casually. And then sometimes it's like it doesn't go well. It's like, oh, well, we decided to decline. All right, that's fine because I can move on to my other things in life now, right? Well, surprisingly, none of the interviews have so far have declined me. But what I'm saying is, um, the important thing is as you go into the interview process from detachment, you have two options. Number one, just like go through the motions, or think about if I'm just going through the motions, like why am I doing this? You know, I could decline. I could be like, I'm not interested in the job at all, and then just like not take this interview, right? So while I could approach this interview like a walk in the park, like, is it really a good use of my time? And as I think about it, I'm like, maybe, maybe I could give a crap without being stressed. Maybe I could try genuinely being interested in, preparing for this interview and then seeing what happens. So, this is a very fine line of like, I'm not going to try to do a good job. But at the same time, I'm not going to be like, I don't care. So I'm going to under prep. So it's this fine line of preparation, right? And as you're preparing for a job interview, this is likely what's going to happen. You're going to find that you really don't want to do this. You're going to find that like you're not really interested in how LRU cache really works. You're not really going to be interested in a URL shortener. How does it work? You're not really going to be interested in the best load balancing strategy for like a certain use case. So at that point, it becomes a memorization exercise, right? And it sucks. But the real hot tip that I want to give you is what if you genuinely become interested? That's when a lot of things change. And here's a very specific tip for you. Have your AI propose to you some set of engineering questions, like design questions and implementation questions. And what you're going to do is you're going to answer it with the AI. Now, the AI is going to give you some, like tips, and it's going to assess your work, right? And what you do is you solve the problem again. You solve the same problem again. And then you see how you did compared to the last time. You read through the guidance again, and then you just do it again. So this is a little bit different from just memorization. This is actually you trying to recall what you just discovered, what you just discussed with the AI, and then you're actively digesting it, and then you're putting it out into words again, and then you're going to be able to see as you do more reps of this, you're going to find that you actually start to understand things a little bit more. So, like, what are the trade-offs of, like using this approach, that approach? If you used to memorize it, then under stress, if the interviewer is asking you and you can't recall it from memory, then it's going to be hard, right? But if you go through this process, all the isolated knowledge points in your brain get interconnected. And then it becomes so much easier to talk about all these things at the same time because you're so used to not isolated recalls, but you are more versed in pulling in the entire network of knowledge that you have. So that's a tip that I think really helps for doing job interviews these days. So, um, in summary, technical field, is it still difficult? To some degree, yes. Is the job market really bad? For traditional roles, definitely yes. But is there an entire new sector of engineering jobs working, and growing? Yes. And is that portion, relatively speaking, less difficult and less stressful compared to the traditional coding interviews? 100% yes. And now I think is a really great time to be interested in engineering. And that's all I have to say about this topic. But if you're watching this video and you want us to talk a little bit more specific about job interview stuff, feel free to email me at billy@julylifecoach.com or leave a comment in the comment section, and then I'll try my best to answer it. Okay, see you in the next video. All right, so that's something I wanted to talk about today, and with that, let's go into a bit of Reddit coaching, which I haven't done in the past few weeks. Let's see. Hmm. How do I stop feeling ashamed of myself? What's up, SP? Is the big game for you today? Let me see. Oh, it is today at noon California time. Oh man, I was bummed out because France lost yesterday, but I'm hoping UK takes it home this time. So before I shoot the video for this, let's talk about this a little bit. Um, why do we feel shame when we aren't able to date? Yeah. Um, I think Spain played really well compared to the games leading up to yesterday, and yeah, I was I thought France had it in the bag, but I was very bummed out. But I would love for England to win today. So what's interesting about this particular post is this person I think has a pretty great personality. Like friends telling me I'm funny, kind, reliable, and you know, being a safe person around women I think is a great asset to have. It's a it's a great personality trait, but they don't really find success in dating, and I mean, what this person is interested in asking, and also what I'm interested in answering is like, why do we feel shame? Like, what's wrong with just not dating? How do I stop feeling ashamed of myself? So this starts out with the title of a general shame, but ends up being a dating related question. So I think this person has a lot of things going for them, right? They're funny, they're kind, reliable, and they have friends who are women who find them to be a safe person. These are great personality traits to have. At the same time, they feel shame because they're not dating. Okay. Uh my friend SB and I are talking about football right here. Now, if you forced me, well, if I was to play football for 90 minutes in the, soccer stadium, like sorry, football stadium, I would hate it. Why? Number one, I don't really enjoy playing football. It's like really hot and I just don't enjoy playing it. But also, why is it a dream for a lot of the football players? Well, it's because football players want to, right? So it's the same time, 90 minutes, same activity, playing football, same location in the football field. But I don't want to be there while football players want to be there. So we think that certain activities are inherently difficult or easy or fun, but it's actually more dependent on your willingness to it, right? Okay, why I'm mentioning this is if I genuinely want to be single, then being single is not a problem, right? But at the same time, if I want to be dating and I'm not dating, that's when the struggle happens, right? So it's not the actual being single part that's problematic. It's that I want to be dating, but at the same time, I am single. That's when the problems rise. But now, normally, this is frustration because, my needs in my life are not being met. But on top of this, I want to date, but I'm alone. And at the same time, I'm feeling ashamed of it. That's the mechanism that's interesting here, right? The important thing here is shame comes when I think I am the problem. But if we look at that assumption, in what situation am I a problem? Like when things need to be a certain way, when there's a set way of doing things, thinking about things, but I am the one at fault by not complying to the standard. That's the mechanism in which shame thrives in, right? So, in this person's mindset, what's happening is people need to be dating. Like normal people date. And because I have a personality flaw or something related to me is wrong, I can't date. That's where the shame comes from. But now let's combine the two together. I want to date, but I find myself single. At the same time, I think people dating is the norm. It's how things should be, but I'm not. Therefore, there's the shame, right? But in that case, why are we not striving, right? Because in this post, it's less about I'm trying so hard to date, which happens to be a lot of questions related to dating, right? It's not like I'm not doing anything. I'm like always going out to meet new people, and I like, oh, I try to, talk to girls, but it's just so hard because I'm so nervous and blah, blah, blah. But it's less about that. This person is doing a lot of things. I'm not a bum or anything like that. I work full time, go to school for master volunteer, and work. So it seems that in the cognitive side, this person seems to want to date. In the cognitive side, this person has ideas about how people should be like dating. But inside, there are genuine reasons this person is actually not striving to date. Because if they are unaware that these are problems and they are wanting to date, like there should be more things that they are trying to do to resolve this inner tension, right? But instead, this person's life is being lived for priorities that are outside of dating, and that's totally fine. But in that case, what's actually blocking for more attempts at dating? And I think this is kind of the reasoning process that you can use to find out why you feel so stuck in dating situations. How to not? No, these aren't questions sent to me. These are questions that are just like on the internet. This is such a immigrant child post. And the I so like I'm what you call 1.5 generation immigrant, right? So I'm not first generation immigrant because my mom and dad are the like immigrants. But at the same time, they went back to Korea, and I wasn't born in the United States, right? So if I was born in the United States while my parents were living there as immigrants, then that would make me a second generation immigrant. So I'm not really the first generation immigrant because I'm not the one who decided to live in abroad. Um, so I'm what you might call a 1.5. And as a 1.5, the nice thing is you get to make a lot of friends. Well, the bad thing is you have a bit of an identity crisis. But the nice thing is you get to be friends with the first generation immigrants, and you also get to befriend a lot of second generation immigrants. And basically, what this person is describing is really, really, really. These are very common topics for second generation immigrants. Okay, so that's the first portion that we're going to be talking about. Like, I want to make sure that this person knows that this is a very common theme in second generation immigrants' lives. And then there's the part about like partying and then lying. Um, okay, so there's like three talking points. Okay, let's start recording. How to not feel like a failure to my parents. So this is a long post, and I don't think I can expect you to read all of this in video. But as I talk about the talking points, I'll point to the relevant portions in this post. Okay, so feeling like a failure to your parents is surprisingly very, 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 very. It's this exact pattern of shame for your parents is like almost like a template for second generation immigrants. So I am 21F, senior at an average university in California. My parents are immigrants, well adjusted, and want the best for me. So you see, this is like a almost like a template. Why I'm emphasizing this so much is if you are feeling this as a if as a second generation immigrant yourself, I need you to understand this is not a uniquely you problem. So because you're so fucked up and beyond repair. No, I want you to understand this is such a common pattern, and I'm gonna explain to you why this is such a common pattern, particularly for second generation immigrants. Thing is, first generation immigrants' lives tend to be very hard. Why? It's you have to learn an entire new language. You have to learn an entire new culture. But while you do that, you have to also learn how to repress your own culture. And like it I say repressed, but in the end, you need to learn how to assimilate into your, new culture. Now, the thing is, let's think about this a little bit. If you are going to leave your entire upbringing and culture, right? Which is obviously going to take a lot of money, obviously going to take a lot of time, obviously going to take a lot of hard work and effort. Are you going to do this to improve your life, or are you going to do this to fuck up your life? You're going to do this to improve your life, right? So it's like a cost that you pay to improve your life. So this means when you immigrate somewhere, are you likely to immigrate to somewhere that is a little bit like a better country and a better environment for you? Or are you going to go to a country or a culture that's like worse than your country? So now the nuance here is both are possible. But if you are going to immigrate to a country with lower economic standards, you are probably going there so that you can enjoy a better finances. You can enjoy better, like, a higher standard of living for a cheaper cost, right? Or you are trying to go to a better economic, world so that you can have opportunities there that are not available in your home country. So they're living in California, which means their parents immigrated to the United States likely because they want an opportunity that's not available in their home country, right? So this means when you are going to from a lower standard to a higher standard, do you have to put less effort or do you have to put more effort? You have to put more effort, right? So in doing these things, of course, you're going to experience a lot of hardship. Is it because you want it? Of course. But I'm saying you're going to go through these things because, like immigration is not going to be an easy thing. Successfully settling in an immigration, having children, these are things that require a lot of like a personhood, like a lot of grit from a lot of character, right? Okay. But here's what happens. You do all this work to, assimilate and then immigrate successfully. When you have a child, are you going to want them to squander the opportunity that is kind of like automatically given to you? Because what's the one thing that all immigrants want? Like safety in the form of citizenship, right? They had to learn this new language. They had to learn this culture. And when you're an immigrant, what you really want is like, man, I wish I was born here, right? I wish I had the opportunity that all these, citizens have for free. And so when you have a child as an immigrant, what are you going to automatically impart on them? Your life is already 10 times, like 100 times better than mine. This mentality is going to be unconsciously instilled. Like all the opportunities that we wanted, you have it for free. This is the pressure that second generation immigrants are like most of the times. They just unconsciously inherit with no other choice. So, from the parents' perspective, it's mind blowing that the kids are such lazy bums. Why? Because from their perspective, because they experience the other side of life, all they can see is, man, if I was your age and I was a citizen and I spoke your language perfectly, like I would be so busy doing these things. It's like, that whole, movie genre of like time travel. If you got the opportunity to travel back in time, you're not gonna just like sit there, right? You're going to try to optimize a lot of things in the past so that you can reap the benefits in the future because you know the future. So parents are like time travelers, but instead of them time traveling, they're trying to live your life in proxy. That's why it's so difficult for the parents to like relate to the kids. It's like, oh, how is life hard for you? My life is hard. Your life is like, it's on easy mode, it's on guide mode. Like, I'm literally telling you what to do. Why are you not able to do it? This is the immigrant, second generation story, right? So, what you have to understand is this pattern is so common, but the easy trap to fall into is resenting your parents for this. And you're a college student right now, so you may not be at that level of resenting your parents, but I I've seen this happen in so many immigrant cases. The more time goes on without this in check, you're going to end up resenting your parents. But why I'm giving you the entire backstory of what motivates this from the parents' perspective is, from the parents' perspective, it's so natural to think in terms of these lines. Because you know your life from the American perspective. Your parents genuinely don't have that perspective. And so when you live your parents' life, it's very likely that you are going to feel the same way. It's just that you don't have the life experiences to understand your parents, right? So the first and foremost, the most important thing is you have to understand your parents have all the reasons to be like this. Now, let's talk about the personal responsibility. Am I telling you, did I just tell you all of this so that I can tell you to suck it up? It's less about that, right? I want you to take a little bit of a, personal responsibility into your life as well. Now, the thing is, there's some tension because my parents would never want me to smoke or drink or do anything sexual with guys, of course. The thing is, um, this person went out and dated and tried. The recurring theme is doing something that the parents are not going to approve of and then lying to hide it up and then feeling really ashamed. And there's this constant, tension to hide and withdraw and, keep shielding the details of their life, personal life, from their parents, right? So you there needs to be something that needs to be honestly acknowledged. So I have no desire to play golf. So I don't need to hide anything to my parents related to golf because I just have genuinely no desire to play golf. But I do want to do jujitsu. But if my parents are like, I don't want you to train jujitsu, it's too dangerous, then I need to go train and then I need to hide it from my parents, right? So in this post, there are some things about like, I'm not that crazy into it. I'm not that like into partying. I'm not that into guys. I'm not really, like it's all blown out of proportion. There's a lot of that kind of a sentiment. Like it's not that big of a deal, but it gets blown up because, my mom is, like overly monitoring everything. So I do agree that, as parents, they have all the reasons to like, over amplify everything. But the thing is, we have to recognize that there is a part of you that wants to date. There is a part of you that wants to experiment with drugs. There is a part of you that wants to party. Obviously, probably because you are repressing it so much by inheriting your parents' perspectives, right? But what you have to understand is you do have these desires. And more importantly, it's fine for you to have these desires. It's okay to have these desires. It's natural for a young person to want to be wanting to experiment with these kinds of things, right? But what makes this feel really bad is all the shame and all the I should be, you should be, and I need, I don't want to get into trouble with my mom. I don't want to disappoint my dad. This is what makes things complicated. But when we do the math of it all, and then when we're looking at the bottom line, you're just another human being with particular interests, and that's not really something to be ashamed of. And you're holding this tension because I'm not, like I'm not that into it, and I wish I wasn't into it, but like, like it gets all blown out to proportion and then it just gets overcomplicated. Yes, but that's gonna be relating to the third part. But yes, you have to recognize, yes, I am interested in drugs. Yes, I am interested in partying. Yes, I am interested in dating. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm allowed to want those things because I'm an adult now, right? So a key word that keeps on popping up is maturity, right? So immaturity, I think, is not acting your age and like wanting to withdraw from challenges and wanting to hide behind my mom, not being able to take care of myself. These are immature things, right? But when you're an adult, you're gonna have to date. You're gonna have to get married. Like, I mean, from your parents' perspective, right? It's not like they probably want you to follow the standard, template of life. But how are you gonna date when you don't have interest in guys? How are you gonna get married if you're not interested in dating, right? So and you're an adult, which means you are mature enough to make decisions about your body. So, in fact, like these are signs of maturity that you're wanting to do more things with your life. Because when you're immature, you don't know what to do with your life, so you have to rely on your parents to learn what you want to do with your life, right? So, all the desires that are holding you in tension, what I want you to understand is you actually do want to do it, and that's fine. Now let's talk about the third point. The third point is you have to start living your life. And in living your life, sometimes your parents will be disappointed in you. But that's fine. The thing is, let's go back to this. My parents are immigrants, well adjusted, and want the best for me. When they want the best, what do they really want? Do they want you to be rich? Sure, that could be nice, right? Do they want you to have a lot of kids? Sure, that could be nice. Do they want you to be like impactful in society? Sure, that could be nice. Do they want you to be in well standing in the community? Sure, that could be nice. But what if you're rich and really unhappy? What if you have a great career, but you hate your life? What if you're great in community, but secretly want to just like disappear alone? What if you're making a lot of impact in society, but you're constantly sacrificing yourself? Do you think that's the life your parent wants for you in the end, in this extreme, comparison? Or do they want you to live your life and be happy? Now, would it be nice if you lived their version of a good life and you were also happy? Sure, I do agree that is the best outcome for everyone. But in the case that you cannot live a life that they want, because, there's a lot of things I want in other people, but I don't control other people. I'm shooting this video right now. I want a lot of people to watch this, but what if they don't? That part's not up to me. I want more people to not suffer and live in peace. But again, that part is not completely up to me. So, it would be nice if you lived the life that your parents want you to live and also you were happy. But in the case that we cannot have all those good things at once, your parents ultimately want you to live a happy life. And that priority needs to be very straight. So, in finding happiness, You will need to try a lot of things. You will need to try, doing things that your parents want you to do. You will try the things that your parents don't want you to do. You're going to have to find your personhood and navigate for you to ultimately arrive at this is what happiness means to me. And that is going to take a long time. That is going to take, life. But the important thing is, it's going to be very difficult to navigate these topics when you're constantly living under the shame of not being the person your parents want you to be. So this ended up being a really long coaching because I want you to have a full picture. Because this full picture is really going to be what liberates you from this particular second generation immigrant brand of suffering. Yeah, this is a topic that's kind of like very important to me because I've seen a lot of people suffer because of this kind of stuff. All right, so I have a client at 8 a.m., so gonna need to take off soon. But what are some updates I can share with you? So, there's a new free experience that I have created for everyone. It's related to the action formula. And action formula is my formula for solving procrastination and inaction, right? And you can use this to kind of learn a little bit more about what you need to do to unblock yourself from procrastination. So, what do you really want to do instead of like what I think I should be doing? If you understand that portion. Like when were you the most excited in your life? And if you can connect to that excitement yet again. If you can listen to what you consider good or bad. If you are really honest about why you're avoiding tasks. And if you examine the relationship with yourself, these aren't really related to what you might be, procrastinating on, right? But when you examine these things, it's going to be very, very, very impactful in how you approach a particular action. You're going to see that you're going to move from I don't want to do it, this like general dark cloud of I don't want to do it, to a much more vivid vision of like the experience of not wanting to do something is going to be a lot more colorful and nuanced. So I would like for you to experience that uh, in the action formula. All right, so that is going to be the YouTube live for today. See you, SB. Good luck for England today. And shit, I have some. I have client sessions, but I'm already kind of losing my voice. So in jiu-jitsu, I keep getting throat strangled, and I just need to tap to that because I need to use my voice a lot more. But anyway, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you all again next Wednesday. And yeah, that's it for this week's stream. Bye. 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 All right. See you next week.